For all those who are able, please rise for the arrival of our Second World War veterans and additional veterans from the Pearly and Rideau Veterans Health Center. Pour tous ceux et celles qui le peuvent, veuillez vous lever pour l'arrivée des vétérans de la Seconde Guerre mondiale et d'autres vétérans du Centre de santé Pearly and Rideau pour les anciens combattants. Veterans, distinguished guests, members of the Canadian Armed Forces, and members of the public, welcome. I'm Mylène Croteau from Veterans Affairs Canada, and I have the privilege of being your Master of Ceremonies for today's event as we mark the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Netherlands and Victory in Europe Day. Je suis Mylène Croteau et j'ai le privilège d'être votre maîtresse de cérémonie aujourd'hui, alors que nous soulignons le 80e anniversaire de la libération des Pays-Bas et du jour de la victoire en Europe. You may sit. I acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional, unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people. As guests, we are honored to gather here today, and we thank all the generations of Anishinaabe Algonquin people who have and continue to take care of the rivers that sustain life, the trees that shade us, and the paths that connect us. Je reconnais que nous sommes réunis sur les territoires traditionnels non cédés du peuple algonquin Anishinaabe. En tant qu'invités, nous sommes honorés de nous rassembler ici aujourd'hui et nous remercions toutes les générations d'Anishinaabe algonquins qui continuent de prendre soin des rivières qui entretiennent la vie, des arbres qui nous donnent de l'ombre et des chemins qui nous relient. If you are able, please stand for the playing of O Canada. Si vous le pouvez, veuillez vous lever pour l'hymne national du Canada. seated. Veuillez vous asseoir. Today, we are gathered to mark the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Netherlands and Victory in Europe Day. After almost 6 years of hard battle, the Second World War in Europe finally came to an end in May 1945, and Canadian service members played an important role. Nous sommes réunis aujourd'hui pour célébrer le 80e anniversaire de la libération des Pays-Bas et le jour de la victoire en Europe. Après près de 6 années de durs combats, la Seconde Guerre mondiale a finalement pris fin en Europe en mai 1945 et les militaires canadiens y ont joué un rôle important. On May 5, 1945, Canadian General Charles Foulkes accepted the surrender of the German forces in the Netherlands. The liberation of the Netherlands was Canada's last major contribution to the Allied victory in Europe, and it would come at a heavy cost. As many as 175,000 Canadians took part in the liberation campaign, and more than 7,600 of them lost their lives. Le 5 mai 1945, le général canadien Charles Foulkes a accepté la capitulation des forces allemandes aux Pays-Bas. La libération des Pays-Bas a été la dernière contribution importante du Canada pour aider les Alliés à remporter la victoire en Europe pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Environ 175 000 Canadiens ont participé à la campagne et plus de 7 600 d'entre eux y ont perdu la vie. The people of the Netherlands have never forgotten the brave Canadians who fought to free their country. This shared struggle forged a close and lasting bond between our two nations. Each year, the international friendship blooms anew in the colorful tulips of Ottawa, which were originally donated by the Dutch royal family after the war as a gesture of eternal gratitude. Les Néerlandais n'ont jamais oublié les courageux Canadiens qui se sont battus pour libérer leur pays. Cette lutte commune a forgé un lien étroit et durable entre nos deux pays. Chaque année, cette amitié internationale s'épanouit à nouveau au travers des tulipes colorées d'Ottawa, offertes à l'origine par la famille royale néerlandaise après la guerre, en signe de gratitude éternelle. On May 8, 1945, as news arrived that the Second World War in Europe was finally over, crowds lined the streets to celebrate in cities and towns across Canada, Europe, and in allied nations around the world. As we remember the celebrations of May 8, 1945, we also pause to remember all those who served and gave their lives so that others might have the gift of peace and freedom. More than 1 million Canadians and Newfoundlanders served in the Second World War, and over 45,000 made the ultimate sacrifice. Le 8 mai 1945, lors de l'annonce de la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale en Europe, les gens se sont mis à célébrer dans les villes et les villages, partout au Canada, en Europe et dans de nombreuses nations alliées autour du monde. Alors que nous nous rappelons ce moment de célébration, nous prenons également le temps de rendre hommage à tous ceux et celles qui ont donné leur vie afin que d'autres puissent recevoir le cadeau de la paix et de la liberté. Plus de 1 million de Canadiens et de Terre-Neuviens ont servi pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale et plus de 45 000 d'entre eux y ont consenti le sacrifice ultime. War transformed not only those who fought on the front lines, but also those who supported them on the home front. Although a long-awaited peace lay ahead, there were many changes to the faces that returned, and in those who greeted them. La guerre a changé non seulement ceux qui ont combattu sur les lignes de front, mais également ceux qui les appuyaient au front intérieur. Bien qu'une paix attendue depuis longtemps fût à venir, la guerre a laissé sa marque indélébile sur ceux qui sont retournés au Canada et sur ceux qui les ont accueillis. We are deeply honored to have veterans of the Second World War here with us today. To you, and to all of those who served and sacrificed during the Second World War, we will always be grateful. We will always remember, lest we forget. Nous sommes honorés d'avoir parmi nous aujourd'hui des anciens combattants de la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Au nom de toutes les Canadiennes et de tous les Canadiens, merci de votre service et de votre sacrifice. During the next few minutes, we will hear the last post followed by a moment of silence, the rouse, and the lament. Au cours des prochaines minutes, vous entendrez le dernier appel qui sera suivi par un moment de silence, le réveil et l'élégie. Chers invités, si vous le pouvez, veuillez vous lever pour le dernier appel. Please rise if you are able to for the playing of the last post. I now invite Brigadier Edward Sendry, British Defense Advisor, to recite the Act of Remembrance in English, ainsi que Bruno Éloin, attaché de défense pour l'ambassade de France, qui récitera l'acte du souvenir en français.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Ils ne vieilliront pas comme nous, qui leur avons survécu. Ils ne connaîtront jamais l'outrage du temps, ni le poids des années. Quand viendra l'heure du crépuscule et celle de l'aurore, nous nous souviendrons d'eux.
Thank you. Merci. I now invite Warrant Officer Second Class Jonathan Ashworth to recite the commitment to remember in English on behalf of the youth of Canada, ainsi que le sergent Andrew Palfy qui récitera la promesse du souvenir en français.
They were young, as we are young. They served, giving freely of themselves. To them we pledge, amid the winds of time, to carry their torch and never forget. We will remember them.
Ils étaient jeunes, jeunes comme nous. Ils ont servi, donnant généreusement d'eux-mêmes. Nous leur promettons, en dépit du temps qui passe, de porter le flambeau et de ne jamais oublier. Nous nous souviendrons d'eux.
Thank you. Merci. As we remember, recognize, and honor the bravery of those who served during the Second World War, I invite Lieutenant Colonel Catherine Askew, Canadian Armed Forces Chaplain, to lead us in a moment of reflection. J'invite l'aumônière des Forces armées canadiennes, lieutenant-colonel Catherine Askew, à venir nous guider pour un moment de réflexion.
Hello, bonjour, Wache. We have come together on this day to commemorate the 80th anniversary of victory in Europe and the liberation of the Netherlands. We gather joyfully today, as did those who gathered on the first Victory Day, grateful for freedom and hope following immeasurable sadness and loss. Nous avons le privilège aujourd'hui de rendre hommage au Canada en reconnaissant les sacrifices profonds et les réalisations remarquables de nos anciens combattants et combattantes et des héros tombés au combat. Dans la poursuite de la paix, les Canadiens et Canadiennes d'un bout à l'autre du pays, les communautés autochtones des grandes villes et des petites villes ont enfilé des uniformes, travaillé dans des usines et cultivé la terre pour nous mener à la victoire. Most especially on this anniversary of the liberation of the Netherlands. We remember the thousands of Canadians who fought on shores far from their homes in the effort to liberate Europe. More than 7,600 Canadians died during the efforts to liberate the country, and we will always remember their courage and sacrifice. We remember the men and women of our Canadian Armed Forces today who serve and defend our nation. May they, their families, and loved ones receive from their communities and all of us gathered here the support, protection, and strength they need to carry out their mission. Nous rendons grâce pour notre pays, le Canada. Puissent nos dirigeants servir avec intégrité et sagesse, et que notre peuple fasse preuve de bonté et d'espoir. Nous sommes reconnaissants pour tous ceux et celles qui, au cours de l'histoire, ont fait l'ultime sacrifice lorsqu'ils veillaient au bien-être et à la sécurité d'autrui. We remember all who are in bereavement, disability, and pain, and all who continue to suffer the consequences of oppression, war, and terror. May they know healing, hope, justice, and peace in their lives. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you. Merci. You may sit. We will now observe the changing of the centuries. Nous observerons maintenant le changement des sentinelles. We will now proceed to the laying of wreaths. Au nom du peuple canadien, on behalf of the people of Canada, Rear Admiral Retired, the Honorable Rebecca Patterson, Mona Fortier, Member of Parliament for Ottawa-Vanier, and Anita Vandenbeld, Member of Parliament. Au nom des Forces armées canadiennes, on behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, General Jennie Carignan, accompanied by Chief Warrant Officer Bob McCann. Au nom d'Anciens Combattants Canada, on behalf of Veterans Affairs Canada, Jane Hicks. Au nom du Royaume des Pays-Bas, on behalf of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Her Excellency Margriet Vonno. Nous avons des invités spéciaux avec nous aujourd'hui. Joining us today, we have special guests from New Zealand. Chief of Defence Force Air Marshal Tony Davies will now lay a wreath accompanied by Commander Mark Tapsell. Au nom des vétérans autochtones, on behalf of Indigenous veterans, David Cardinal. Au nom de Jeunesse du Canada, on behalf of Youth of Canada, Warrant Officer First Class Shuang Chia and Sergeant Maxim Turif. Au nom des vétérans de la Seconde Guerre mondiale, on behalf of veterans of the Second World War, Roland Lalonde and Roy Martel. J'invite maintenant tous les membres du corps diplomatique qui souhaitent déposer une gerbe à le faire. Members of the diplomatic corps who wish to lay a wreath may now come forward. J'invite maintenant tous ceux qui souhaitent déposer une gerbe à le faire. I now invite any veterans organizations or others who wish to lay a wreath to come forward. Thank you. Merci. It is now my pleasure to invite Flight Corporal Jada Goudreau to read a letter written on VE Day in 1945 by leading aircraftman Louis Billard from Glace Bay, Nova Scotia. J'invite maintenant le caporal de section Jada Goudreau à lire une lettre écrite le 8 mai 1945 par l'aviateur-chef Louis Billard de Glace Bay, en Nouvelle-Écosse.
Dear Mom, to you, my best girlfriend, goes my first letter on this very sunny VE Day from here in Germany. You wouldn't want a better day in this part of the world to call VE Day. The sun's rays are just pouring down, and since we are under canvas, it's just like camping on holidays. At 9 this morning, we had a parade and the CO made the formal announcement that peace had finally come to this continent. But all is not happiness, for I saw some wounded men being transferred from their ambulances to the Dakotas transport planes on their way back to England. For those men, VE means little, especially the one lad I saw with both arms missing. You remember, after the last war, there was cheering. Since the war was over, well, I hope it won't be so loud this time, for I figure that there is just as hard a job to be done now that our weapons are laid down. This evening, we intend to have a feast in celebration of the day, and there will also be a big bonfire. At least, I got into Germany before it was all over, though I hardly thought that I'd be celebrating VE on enemy territory. This is as much more than most RCAF airmen can say. Let's say that it won't be long before we give Thanksgiving for peace in Far East. Then we can really celebrate. So long for now. Love to the Billards and friends, Louis.
Thank you, Flight Corporal. Local youth choir Chorale Lyrica will now perform Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Et maintenant, la chorale Lyrica interprétera Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Merci. Thank you for that lovely performance. It is now my honor to invite General Jennie Carignan, Chief of the Defense Staff, to deliver remarks. J'ai maintenant l'honneur d'inviter la chef d'état-major de la Défense, la générale Jennie Carignan, à prendre la parole.
Madame Fortier, Senator Patterson, Excellencies, distinguished guests from around the world, including friends and allies from the Netherlands, France, the United Kingdom, Australia, our special guests from New Zealand today, Norway, the United States and Greece, CAF members, Indigenous veterans, representatives from Canada's youth, Kwe, good morning, bonjour. It's such a great honor to be here today on this solemn and momentous occasion as we mark the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War in Europe and its liberation from occupation. We honor brave Canadians and Allied troops who answered the call to fight, who left the comforts of their homes to confront the dangers of war so that we, generations later, might live in peace and freedom. For Canada's military family, our bond with Europe is strong and lasting. Through city after city, town after town, village after village, in flooded fields and along shattered streets, they fought. Conditions were harsh and progress was slow. Every step forward exacted at great cost. In the final weeks, before the guns fell silent, hundreds of Canadians fell. A final heavy price paid to hasten the end of the war in Europe and the unspeakable suffering of civilian populations and communities. A war in which more than 45,000 Canadians and Newfoundlanders gave their lives. Tens of thousands of others came back with the visible and invisible wounds of war. After 5 years of enemy occupation and many months of brutal combat, the Allies achieved victory. Row upon row of Canadian war graves bear witness to this enormous sacrifice, a sacrifice met with lasting gratitude that has not faded with time, but instead blossomed into some of our strongest friendships. We see it each spring in tulips that blossom here in Ottawa, a gift from the Dutch royal family and the people of the Netherlands. We see it in the deep military ties we share with NATO allies. Nos troupes assurent aujourd'hui la pérennité de cet héritage, tout en servant fièrement sur le flanc est de l'OTAN en Lettonie, où le Canada dirige une brigade de l'OTAN formée par 13 alliés. Il s'agit de la plus importante présence militaire continue du Canada en Europe depuis la fin de la guerre froide. De toute évidence, nous sommes plus forts ensemble. Par ailleurs, compte tenu des menaces croissantes que posent les régimes autoritaires, nous devons défendre avec vigueur nos valeurs, nos intérêts et nos amis. Comme le fait le Canada en soutenant fermement l'Ukraine dans son brave combat pour la liberté, notamment par l'intermédiaire de l'opération Unifier, mission canadienne qui a soutenu l'instruction de plus de 44 000 membres des forces de sécurité ukrainiennes en Ukraine, en Lettonie, en Pologne et au Royaume-Uni. Bien que les menaces contemporaines puissent différer des menaces d'il y a 80 ans, elles ne sont pas moins dangereuses. À toutes les personnes en uniforme aujourd'hui, ainsi qu'à nos vétérans, merci. Et à toutes les personnes tombées au champ d'honneur pour la cause de la liberté, votre sacrifice ne tombera jamais dans l'oubli. Que leur courage face au danger nous rappelle que la liberté est durement acquise et remportée par de grandes luttes. Chaque génération doit se montrer à la hauteur de sa défense, comme nous l'avons fait ici nous aussi. Que la gratitude éprouvée aujourd'hui serve de promesse. Nous ne devons jamais tenir notre liberté pour acquise. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you. Merci, Général. It is now my pleasure to invite Corporal Kristen Rainshaw, member of the Canadian Armed Forces Central Band, to perform I'll Be Seeing You. Et maintenant, la caporale Kristen Rainshaw interprétera I'll Be Seeing You.
Attention!
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park, across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I see you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll see you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
Thank you, Corporal Rancha. Merci. J'invite maintenant Son Excellence Margriet Vonno, ambassadrice désignée du Royaume des Pays-Bas, à prononcer quelques mots. I now invite Her Excellency Margriet Vonno, Ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, to deliver remarks.
Good morning, honorable members of Parliament and the Senate, General, colleagues, members of the armed forces, veterans, and a shout out for Roland, who bought me a very nice picture of himself. Pearly friends, but also young Canadians being here, paying it forward. Victory in Europe Day, VE Day, was declared by British Prime Minister on the May 8 of 1945. Nazi Germany officially surrendered to Allied forces. L'annonce de Churchill a marqué la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale en Europe. Et le jour de la victoire en Europe est commémoré depuis ce jour. And it was a Canadian general, General Fawkes, who accepted the surrender of the Nazi forces in the Netherlands on May the 5th, 1945, in the town of Wageningen, a date now known in the Netherlands as Liberation Day. And in the final months of the war, the 1st Canadian Army played a crucial role in the push through Holland and the Rhineland, engaging in fierce and decisive battles that contributed to the defeat of the Hitler's Third Reich, like those reeds are defeated now by the wind. The count after our liberation was that 7,600 Canadian soldiers paid the ultimate sacrifice in their campaign to liberate us in Holland. And the Dutch, we remember the war vividly. The brutality of the Nazi occupation, the hunger, the suffering of the starvation winter we had in 1944 till 45, the continued executions of resistant fighters up until the war's final day, and the courage of those who resisted and those who came to liberate us. Ils se souviennent, les Canadiens, les soldats, les pilotes de l'aviation royale canadienne, qui larguaient de la nourriture en effectuant des missions, et les marins de la marine royale canadienne, qui transportaient des fournitures et déminaient les eaux. Their acts of remembrance are visible at the Canadian war cemeteries at Groesbeek and Holton, Solemn, beautiful places, many of you have seen them, where thousands of Canadians lie buried, far from home. At the cemetery of Halton, even days before VE Day, families can be seen walking among the graves, reading the names on the carved maple leaves. Parents, like my parents, told me, quietly telling their children, these men, they died to free your country. Do not forget what they did. You are free because of them. If anyone believes the liberation of Holland was a cakewalk, they should know 7,600 Canadians buried in those cemeteries, and that sacrifice will never be forgotten. I'm grateful the way the Dutch remember, and I'm grateful for how Canada remembers. I'm also very proud of the way Canada remembers. So to conclude, as an ambassador of the Netherlands to Canada, I'm deeply humbled to be here with you, and it's an honor I will not forget. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Thank you, Your Excellency. I would now like to welcome back Corporal Kristen Renshaw and Chorale Lyrica to perform We'll Meet Again. Et maintenant, la caporale Kristen Renshaw et la chorale Lyrica interpréteront We'll Meet Again.
Attention!
We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do. Till the blue skies chase those dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as far as I know, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
Thank you. Merci. If you are able, please rise for the Royal Anthem. Si vous le pouvez, veuillez vous lever pour l'interprétation de l'hymne royal. Vous pouvez vous asseoir, you may sit. Ceci conclut notre cérémonie d'aujourd'hui. À toutes et à tous, je vous remercie de vous être joints à nous pour souligner cet anniversaire important. As this concludes the ceremony, we reaffirm our commitment to remembering the courage and hope of our soldiers who fought for something bigger than themselves all those years ago. And I hope the spirit of recognition and community felt today remains with all of us moving forward. Avant de partir, joignez-vous à moi pour une salve d'applaudissements pour les vétérans de la Seconde Guerre mondiale et tous les vétérans qui sont avec nous aujourd'hui. Nous sommes honorés que vous soyez parmi nous. Please join me in a round of applause for our Second World War veterans and all veterans who are with us here today. Thank you for your service. Merci et bon après-midi.